Hello and welcome back to the Horror of It All movie podcast. I'm Eric. This is a new video edition of the podcast that I'm trying out. I did, however, try to do this and I had a little trouble, so hopefully this one will work out a little bit better. This is a continuation. I'm going to be making either a podcast or a video, 6 different ones in a series for the upcoming Half-Lighted Black Friday sale for Vinegar Syndrome. Part 1 was a audio podcast. This one is a video, obviously, and I might mix it up as it goes along. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how this one goes and go from there. Now, to kind of connect you a little bit more and fill you back in, anything that I recommend, because I'm gonna be recommending 5 movies on each one. None of these movies will be movies that were on my first podcast that I did, not the first of the series, but the first podcast that I did on Vinegar Syndrome, on my favorite 25 releases of, at that point, all of their all-time type thing. Now it's everything that was released from then, as well as everything that I've discovered from then that I definitely really enjoyed and highly recommend. Hopefully that all makes sense. Kind of winging this and trying it out, something different. So I will just dive into it. The first one is a newer one that probably won't be on sale, but highly recommend it. You getting it. It's one of my favorites. I had a blast watching it. It has about a mixed reviews and things like that, but you'll have that with really any Vinegar Syndrome. I am talking about All American Murderer. It has a great slipcase. This is a great part of the movie. Great effects. Some of the kills are really good. I usually flip the art, but I prefer this art to the original art. But yeah, Christopher Walken is great in it, but of course he is. It's Christopher Walken. The main guy, Christopher Schlater, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his name. I apologize. Basically is this guy who just can't catch a break. It's always one thing after another with him. But and Christopher Walken is a police detective, I guess, who was trying to a mix of like kind of helping him and kind of like he's not quite sure about him. But anyway, I will let Vinegar Syndrome explain it as I do on my podcast. I think they do it the best. Vinegar Syndrome is as follows. Artie Logan has a history of getting himself into trouble. He's been kicked out of every school he's attended and is no friend to the law, which makes matters extra complicated for his wealthy father, who happens to be a judge. Given one last chance, Artie is shipped off to Fairfield College. But when his new fling and senior senator's daughter, Tally, is burned to death by an unknown assailant, suspicion immediately falls on Artie. Adamant of his innocence, he's granted 24-hour period in which to unmask the actual culprit. As his hours of freedom dwindle, the killer strikes again and again. Now, I don't remember him actually being given 24 hours. I mean, I guess. Maybe he did. But it definitely wasn't because of the other cops. It would have been from Christopher Walken. I watched it kind of recently, but I watch a lot of movies, so sometimes I forget little things like that. But we'll go with what they said. Vinegar Syndrome goes on to say, a twisted hybrid slasher and giallo. Now, when I first read that, I'm like, is it though? But they're usually good at describing their movies for the most part, and it kind of is. It really does have that giallo-esque to it. It did come out in 91, so it was a little late. That's why I was a little... but anyway, All American Murderer is the sole theatrical feature by acclaimed actor and TV director Anson Williams of Happy Days fame. and co-starring Academy Award winner Christopher Walken, as I said. A tightly paced, suspenseful, featuring an array of unexpected grisly murders. Vinegar Syndrome is proud to bring this underseen piece of early 90s horror to Blu-ray, newly restored in 4K from its 35mm inch positive. Anyway, all the technical stuff out of the way. I had a blast with this movie. Like I said, I love the effects. Some of Christopher Walken's lines, some people thought they were stupid, others didn't. I'm in that bracket of I didn't. I like dumb shit. I'm not saying that the movie is like necessarily silly. I don't think so. But some of his lines are pretty good. Like, I never forgot a face, especially if I've sat on it. Or, what mouth action? I thought Jaws only moved that fast in water. Too much teeth for my taste. But she's learning. And one of the other policemen says a stupid kid line, but I thought it was kind of funny. This will go over about as good as a fart in a phone booth. I'm like, okay then. But one of his really good lines, that in a serious line that I liked, I thought the writing in this was great. It's a mix, but some people thought it was either annoying. It's one of those things that either you're going to think is annoying or you're going to think the writing is really good. But I'm sick of pulling slime suckers off scum fuckers and calling it justice. I thought that was a great line, classic cop type line. But I highly recommend All American Murderer. It will not be on sale, but I like to mention new ones just as well as I like mentioning old ones. All the rest of them that I'm going to mention will and should be on sale. We shouldn't say will, but I'm pretty sure they will. This still has a slipcase. Like I said, great fucking slipcase. I loved it. The back of it is so cool. But yeah, All American Murderer. My next choice, I do not know if it still has the slipcase. I know I'm going on about slipcases. I will stop and say I know some people don't care about slipcases, and that's cool. But what I will say to those people is there usually is an option to not buy the slipcase. If you don't want the slipcase, leave it for people that want it, and not to be like a dick, about it. But I'm not going to get into the whole slipcase back and forth thing. Anyway, I'm talking about The Caller. Now, as you can see, there's two people on the cover, Malcolm McDowell and Madeline Smith. They're, I think, like the only ones in this movie. It's kind of like a play, but it's also a lot like to me, it's a lot like a vinegar, yeah, Twilight Zone episode. That's what I get from it, like a Twilight Zone episode. That's the best way I can describe it, even though it's a full movie. It's definitely a mystery. It's definitely got horror in there. But again, I'll let Vinegar Syndrome describe it, because they do it best, and read the synopsis. On a cold winter night, a woman living alone in the middle of the woods receives an unexpected visitor. A mysterious middle-aged man who asks to use her phone. Obliging the stranger, it soon becomes apparent that they might know more about each other than they're letting on. As hours and then days pass, the two become engaged in a series of bizarre and sinister mind games, uncovering unnerving secrets along the way. All the while, the ongoing confrontation begs the question of, what mysterious events are transpiring in the nearby woods? I had a lot of fun with this movie. I know there are times in the movie where you're like, what is going on? But just stick with it. I really do recommend it. That's the reverse art for it. And that's the inside. The inside is just, I flipped it. That's the new art. Sorry, I'm still learning with this whole video thing, but Vinegar Syndrome goes on to say, The Caller is a labyrinth. I don't know what, I'm not sure what that says. Labyrinth. I'm terrible with some words. I apologize. Mysterious tinge of horror and sci-fi elements, which stars Malcolm McDowell and Madeline Smith, as I said. But definitely recommend it. There's not a lot for special features. There is an interview with the director and an audio interview with the writer. And I definitely, like I said, recommend this. Not sure if you can still get this cool slip, but it's not bad. It's a pretty cool one. I didn't mention the special features on All American Murderer. I apologize. We're going back to that real quick. I always like to mention the special features because I care about that shit. Commentary track with Hysteria continues. It's a not bad commentary track. They've had better ones. They're basically just a fans doing commentaries, and I think it's a podcast. And then there's an interview with the main actor, Charles Schlater. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I apologize. And then there is also an interview with the cinematographer. So I just wanted to mention that before I get going too far. All right, my next recommendation is an Ozploitation movie. I unfortunately don't have the slip for this, but it's definitely a great movie. I'm sure the non-slip people will get sick of me saying I don't have the slip or I have the slip because they don't give a fuck. Well, I do. So anyway, it's called Snapshot. This one should be, I believe it's still available. I don't think it's out of print or anything, so it should be on sale. This one came out in 2017. So it's been 4 years since I watched it. So I'll definitely let Vinegar Syndrome tell you about it, and I'll read the synopsis. Angela is a young hairdresser having a hard time making ends meet. Looking for a fast way to earn some extra money, she accepts a job working as a model. Soon, however, she gets the feeling that someone is watching her, following her, stalking her. Is it her deranged ice cream truck driving ex-boyfriend? A psychotic admirer? Or someone more sinister? As Angela delves further into her new and sordid lifestyle, she finds herself growing closer and closer to the deadly truth. Even just reading that was bringing back some stuff. It's definitely highly suspenseful type of movie. As a psychological thriller. They call it a slow burn. I wouldn't. I guess it's a slow burn, but I've seen much slower, so to speak. So, but melds character drama with moments of shocking violence and nail-biting suspense, featuring atmospheric scope photography by Vincent Montin, who did Road Games fame, and a pounding soundtrack by Brian May, who worked on Mad Max, as well as a lot of Ozploitation movies and Australian movies and things like that. Snapshot is a forgotten piece of Ozploitation and is proudly presented on Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome, newly restored in its original 35mm camera negative. Special feature-wise for this, there is a commentary track with the director, producer, lead actress, and cinematographer. An alternate feature-length Australian cut. That I don't remember if I watched that or not. So that's cool. Producing Snapshot, an interview with Tony Janane. Again, I'm sorry with the names. He's the producer, as well as extended interviews from Not Quite Hollywood. Now, if you're a collector like I am and you've seen some of these movies or a lot of these Ozploitation movies, you'll see that a lot in the special features. Extended interviews from Not Quite Hollywood. And I'm thinking, like, how much fucking footage did they get for that amazing documentary already? But yet, there's still that many. Excuse me. It's just so cool. But anyway, highly recommend Snapshot. Check it out. Like I said, it should be available for pretty good. It's a lower priced one, but yeah. My next one is another kind of bit older one. Now, this one came out in 2018, so it's another one that isn't quite as fresh, but the slipcase is really cool. Sudden Fury, definitely very 70s-esque. Both of these covers, the back and the front, are the reverse and the main thing. But I'll just dive right into it. It's a really fun movie. Fred and his wife Janet have been experiencing problems in their marriage. But when she refuses to help him fund the building of a rural resort and subsequently reveals that she had an affair, Fred snaps, staging a car accident on a country road and leaving Janet for dead. What seems like a perfect crime disguised as an accident is spoiled by an unexpected arrival of Al. An innocent passerby, in his attempt to save Janet, quickly finds himself fingered as the most likely suspect in the murder. I apologize for background stuff. I have kids, so if that ever comes in, that's why. I have a 7-year-old. Anyway, that's why. It definitely goes on to say a riveting and criminally underseen Hitchcockian thriller. I highly agree with that. It's very like Hitchcockian. It's like if Alfred Hitchcock did a very independent movie. Like that's it. It's a really cool story. It's ranks as one of the finest forgotten films to emerge out of Canada's mid-70s tax shelter era. Now, if you don't know what that is, a lot of independent movies were able to get their start with the tax shelter era times, where basically you're able to get money from the government and make movies. I mean, that sounds awesome, you know. A lot of if you know more about the history of that, which I won't go too far into it, a lot of people got their start because of it. Sudden Fury also has a commentary track with the director, isolated score by composer, cast, crew, and production, still gallery, original theatrical trailer. So there's not a whole lot on the special feature side, but I'm pretty sure this will definitely be on sale. Not with the slip, unfortunately, if that's what you want. If you're into that, then you could go and pay up for it, but I'm not necessarily one of those people. Thankfully, I've been collecting since 2013. At first, I wasn't great with it, and I did miss out on some slips, like my number 5 pick for this particular episode, that I do not have the slip, and it was a great slip, is Raw Force. Everything that you can think of for an exploitation movie is crammed into this fucking movie. This movie is so much fun. If you have not seen it, just buy it at the sale. It's going to be so cheap. It's just so great. Like I said, if you like exploitation movies, especially movies from like the 70s and the 80s, that's pretty much everything that's crammed into this movie. It's just so much fun. Anyway, welcome to Warriors Island, burial ground of the disgraced martial arts masters. When the Burbank Kung Fu Club travels to this mysterious island, they quickly find themselves facing the bloodthirsty vengeance of flesh-ripping kung fu fighting zombies, gun-toting white slave traders, a band of strange monks who may be the only key to explaining the madness. Just that whole thing is just put everything you can think of into a fucking blender. That's what Raw Force is. I saved this for last because it's not my favorite movie out of all these. I'd say my favorite movie is probably All American Murderer, but this is probably the funnest movie. I've heard some mixed things, but you do with all that. I try not to say that, but it comes to mind. I just feel like everybody's not going to be the same, so you'll have that. But I highly, highly recommend this movie. It's so much fun. Edward Murphy's Raw Force is a virtual smorgasbord of over-the-top sleaze, mixing zombies, cannibals, outrageous action, gore, copious amounts of nudity, and starring exploitation greats Cameron Mitchell and Vic Diaz. Vinegar Syndrome presents this quintessential, yes, I highly agree, piece of early 80s sleaze, newly restored from the original camera negative. and the first time on Blu-ray. This is one of their first releases, so there's no like reverse in there, and again, it has a DVD, which they don't do anymore, just so people know if they didn't know that. This is number 54, so yeah, this is one of the original ones. This one came out in 2004. For special features, it has a featurette with the director and the cinematographer, and an audio interview with finishing editor. I can't say enough good things about this, so there's a very good chance I will do an episode of my podcast. Well, this is the podcast, it's just the video version, that's what I'm going to call it. But of my audio podcast about Raw Force, like dedicate a whole episode to it because it's just bonkers and it's just so much fun. Now, I usually do a honorable mention, and today is no different. But this time I'm going to be doing an honorable mention on a specific movie, but also wanted to mention that all of this director's movies are going out of print from Vinegar Syndrome. I don't know why, and for some reason I also can't for the life of me, and his name isn't that hard, but I wanted to get it right. It is pronounced like this. Gerard Damiano. Now, yes, I will mention he's an adult film, he was an adult film director. Now, my recommendation, however, is an adult film. There is sex scenes, but it's also almost like a kind of like an Italian, not Italian, kind of like an anthology horror as well. I mean, I may be reaching with that, but his other stuff that is still there and may or may not make it to the sale, other than the one I'm talking about, which also may not make it to the sale, I don't know. This is not in my main 5, as I said, but it's definitely just a honorable mention, as I mentioned. Again, this is kind of loose. I'm kind of just winging it. But other movies that he did that Vinegar Syndrome has is Let My Puppets Come, which is fucking hilarious. It's puppet porn. Like, if that doesn't sound ridiculous to you and just fun, then I don't know. Skin Flicks. Throat, 12 Years After. He also did Deep Throat and The Devil Within Miss Jones, like those infamous original or first pornography or adult films, if you want to get make it not sound so bad. But the one I'm talking about is Memories Within Miss Aggie. This is not just an adult film. This is totally horror-esque. I will quickly read the synopsis, and I'm going to call it a podcast, a video podcast. The only thing missing from Aggie's life was Aggie. In the middle of nowhere lives a middle-aged Aggie with her wheelchair-bound companion Richard. As snow falls outside, Aggie tries desperately to remember the circumstances under which they met. As she plays through her mind a series of possible scenarios, only to dismiss each as a false past, she inadvertently begins to reveal an increasingly dark portrait of her true self, leading to the unexpected and shocking reality of her relationship with Richard. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything much more about the movie. If you're not into adult films or porn, however you call it, I still recommend this because you could even fast forward through that stuff. It's a short movie. It's 75 minutes, and if you fast forward, it's probably about an hour or less. But it's pretty good. I mean, I really, really, really enjoyed it. Vinegar Syndrome goes on to say, a chilling study of loneliness and religiously based sexual repression. Gerard Damiano. I even did it before and I forgot. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Damiano, Gerard Damiano. Magnum opus, Memories Within Miss Aggie, ranks among the strongest and most unsettling psychological character studies in the history of erotic cinema. Now keep in mind, especially their older releases, they always like to call it erotic cinema or sexploitation. most of the time they mean porn. They mean adult film. If you didn't know that, some people think to be like, duh, but at first I didn't know that. That's how I ended up getting like this and things like that. But yeah, I highly recommend this one. There's like no special features on it, but still, it's a creepy fucking movie. I'll say that. But those are my picks for this podcast. I will be doing more. I have 4 left. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and subscribe if you like what you heard or whatever. Check out my other podcasts. Check out the other Vinegar Syndrome podcast. So I guess I will call it a podcast. So definitely have fun with the sale if this is the only one you listen to. If you don't, I have more coming. I'm going to have all those leading up until the podcast. I hope to have them all done. So, yeah, anyway, this has been the Horror of It All movie podcast. Always remember, it is okay to have your own opinion. It really is. Just don't argue or be a dick about it. It's just silly and stupid to me and a lot of people. It's not about being right or wrong. It's okay to have an opinion. It really is. I wanted to end on that note. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.